Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Normal. Yes, your second one tonight. How lucky are you? And I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, for those who don't know, here to try and make the world seem a little more normal. Does it ever work? No. No, it never works to make the world more normal, but it's not supposed to because the world's a weird place and the world likes it like that, so we're going to keep it like that. But as always, there's a guest to help me try to do this, accomplish this goal. And my guest tonight is Dr. Lisa Winters, an animal communicator. Yes, my second one of the night, and a pet tarot expert, which is a first for me. So that right there is what I'm excited about is the pet tarot part. But
Excellent.
first things first. How you doing tonight, Lisa?
I am fantastic. And thank you so much, Jeremy, for having me on your program. I'm really excited to be here. It's a bit early here in Perth, Western Australia, but definitely worth it.
Oh, I have friends who podcast out of Australia, so I love working with Australians. They always have such a good attitude about everything. They really do. Like
very easygoing.
They are living in like literally the country with the most deadly animals in the world. They're always happy. So I can't explain it, but I'd be scared personally.
I know, and as a vet, I work with a lot of those deadly animals. I'm one of the few vets in Western Australia who will treat all of our venomous snakes. So I get to handle a lot of and treat a lot of the, venomous snakes that are literally in the top 10 in the world as the most venomous. So yes, always an exciting day in the clinic.
Ooh, okay. We're gonna have 2 episodes in a row tonight. We're talking about snakes. I am looking forward to that. But the first question I ask everybody is, what got you into the paranormal / spiritual world that you live in?
Yes, great question. I don't know if you remember or your audience remembers a movie. It was about I think it came out about 1975, called Escape to Witch Mountain. And it's about
I know the remake. I don't know the original.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm talking about the original. That gives you my age. Anyway, there's the 2 kids, Tia and Thomas, that Tia and Toby, that leave, that the whole program is about. And Tia is able to communicate with animals telepathically. She's able to communicate with her brother and know premonitions of the future. And I remember watching that movie as a little girl. And for the first time, I saw someone and had them talk about something that I had already been doing, which was communicating with the animals. And I remember turning to my family at that time that were with me and saying, I can do that. And they looked at me, they went, yep, right, Lisa, no worries. And they quickly dismissed me. And so it was kind of from that point forward that I realized that, hang on a second, maybe I was a bit different in that not everyone communicated with animals. And that was my first most conscious awareness. And basically it has stayed with me. I mean, obviously it stayed with me for my entire life. And I have been communicating with animals, since that, my most earliest memories. And it has evolved into me creating, programs. I believe that everyone has this ability to communicate with animals and to teach people how to reconnect with those abilities. And in the last 5 years, I've created an additional tool that seems to really help people learn how to communicate with animals. And it's an amazing, anchoring tool, which was Pet Tarot. And so that has become my biggest selling service, is to do Pet Tarot readings for animals, for pets and their pet parents. And I now incorporate it into my program, my pet partnership program, that teaches people how to actually communicate with animals. So it's been a lifelong journey. It's been with me since I can remember.
Amazing. And if I can communicate my 2 masters and actually get them to listen, that'd be the greatest thing in the world.
But you have to
'Cause
remember, all animals have free will, so they get a choice. We can ask them to do things, and we can communicate with them, but they, at the end of the day, still have free choice. Whether they decide to listen or not will always be up to them. But you can absolutely learn how to have those conversations in helping with behavior issues, just being able to know why your animals have come into your life. So being able to do readings, and learning how to communicate, to learn how to do to learn how their soul contracts work, is one of the big things that people want to know about.
Yeah, the only one that was enough force to get her in there.
It's incredible, and I actually got to do it. I gotta get him. I got him.
Well, he's not going to go in the cages as soon as we put him here.
All right. Well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Have you had any experiences with anything on the ghostly spiritual realm, or
Yes.
even in Australia, aliens or even cryptids such as the Yowie or any of the other we actually just did an episode of my other paranormal podcast about Australian cryptids, and there's a lot of crazy ones down there. But
That's
out
right.
of Australia, I expect nothing else. But
Yes.
so
I have, since I was, like I said, since I was a child, I have been in communication with spirit. My sister and I we actually created a Ouija board out of a piece of plywood and a piece of cardboard as our planchette. And we used to use the Ouija board to communicate with spirit, when we were teenagers. I've continued to communicate with spirit since then. So I have a team of spirit guides along with my spirit animals that I communicate. As a child, we owned a rental home that was spirited, in that it had ghosts and lots of odd things that used to go on in it. So I remember my parents telling me stories about what would go on in that house. So a man who lived there, he actually killed his wife at the kitchen table in the house. And since that time, there had been quite a lot of spiritual activity occurring, where the people who would rent it would say they would see footprints walking across the carpet, so indentations. They would see a bed print where someone would come and sit and lie down next to them in the bed, where they could see the actual indentation of the body. Lots of interesting things like that coming through, my whole experiences growing up. Here in Australia, probably my big main thing is just speaking with people who have passed over or on the other side. I haven't witnessed too many I did have a UFO encounter as a young kid, where we were outside at kind of late at night, and I remember seeing this light come, and we stopped and watched it for a while. And I remember turning to my friend going, I think that's a UFO. And then, of course, we were teenagers, and so then it kind of spooked us a bit. So we kind of took off, heading back to home. And when we looked back, it just kind of sat there, and then it just kind of just shot up and disappeared. So we were pretty convinced, and we both talk about that story, how we saw a UFO when we were kids.
Interesting. And Australia is a hotspot for UFOs. It really is. It's just it's I never heard of many abduction stories out of Australia, but I've heard of a lot of UFO sightings down under, I should say. So
down under, yes. You hear about it a lot. Like you say, that a lot of people talk about it. I've yet to see any. I love looking at the stars. I actually am an astrologist, so I do astrology readings. And the moon and the stars in the sky has always been a big draw to me, since I was little. So I wanted to be an astronaut before I wanted to be a vet. So I wanted to be the first woman when I was growing up. I wanted to be the first woman to land on the moon. as a child, and I got told that I was not tall enough to get into the NASA program, so I yeah, had to change my career path.
And it's funny because we haven't been back to the moon since the first time
Exactly. So
for a reason.
exactly for because they never went the first time. So
Oh, you just made me the happiest man on earth by saying that. I mean,
yeah.
the idea.
So
See, I don't know about that. I really don't. I mean,
yeah,
I've always
I
been
don't think we did. I don't think we did. I don't think we made it. I think we staged it, and yeah.
That's a very popular theory nowadays, but
Yeah.
I kind of lean more toward. I mean, I'm on the fence about it, but I kind of lean more towards the idea that we went there, we met something that told us not to come back.
Hey, I like that theory. I like
If
that theory.
Because if you look at the like the conference after it happened, like the interviews with the astronauts,
Yeah.
they're scared of something, whether
Yeah.
it's something they saw and talked to, or whether it's the government telling them like keep quiet about what you saw up there. Like they're scared of something, and those are kind of the lines I go to. Is that like they
Interesting. I like that.
saw something, because I mean they shot a missile at the Earth back in whenever it was, and the moon. I mean at the moon, and the moon rang for I think it was like 11 minutes or something like that. Like it which I'm a big believer in the hollow moon theory, that the moon's not really a natural existing thing, that it's a station of some kind, like almost like a Death Star, for lack of a better description.
Absolutely. Yep.
And there's something that's based there, and that may be where most of our alien abductions come from, is they take us back there and they do what they want to do, clothing and all that, and then they bring us back because they just want to. But
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, no one will ever truly know until the government releases the information they have on
exactly. That really is at the end of the day what it is, isn't it? That they will ultimately they'll tell us the truth when they're ready to tell us the truth, I think. So yeah. But I've always found it interesting that we've gone once and we've never gone again. And if we had that technology back in the 60s, we would think that our technology would be even far better than it was now. So
yeah, I will never know until the government.
No.
And, I mean, I'm famous for saying, like, the next pandemic we have, they'll say Bigfoot's real, but and all of his cousins all over the world, of course, as well, including the infamous Yowie. But it's so nice to have somebody else's dog barking on a podcast.
I know it's all happening here at the house. We've got NBN people coming, and I'm sitting over here going shush shush. So hopefully he's not barking too much in your background.
He is a lot quieter than my mastiffs are when they bark. So
excellent,
100%. So I mean, trust me, my wife just put them back in their cages and put a sheet over their cages. We're trying that for the first time ever to see if it keeps them quiet, but while you're podcasting. But
excellent.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you think of the crazy cryptids in Australia, like the Yowie, like the bunyip, and all these like dinosaur-like creatures that are supposed to be in Australia?
I find it interesting. I think anything is possible. Like, I'm a firm believer in that. Anything is possible. We live in a world where we do not know every little square inch of every forest, every desert, every ocean, all of those kinds of things. And so I think there's always the ability for creatures to live and thrive without us even knowing it. So Australia is not a big place, and most of its inhabitants live right along the ocean on each coast. So there's a vast center of Australia that's not highly inhabited. obviously the Aboriginals have a lot of Dreamtime stories that are very interesting, around those kinds of things. And being the oldest living culture in the world, makes me think that they're not making this kind of stuff up. So um, I haven't seen a lot of information on it to be able to give a really well educated opinion. But I do believe that anything is possible. So it wouldn't surprise
Well,
me. Like there's a lot of crazy things that live here in Australia that live nowhere else in the world. And there's been a lot of crazy animals that live here that have never lived anywhere else in the world. So it would not surprise me.
well, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly where you live, and please don't give it out on a live podcast because that's not healthy for anybody. But you never possibly heard when you were younger, even like the howl of a yowie, like through the woods.
I'm actually originally from the US, so
Oh.
I've only lived here for the last probably 20 years. And yeah, so I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, so Washington State. So I know all about Bigfoot, seeing the Bigfoot sightings and hearing those kinds of stories. So so no, I don't know that much about the Australian relative. I probably would be more knowing of the North American Bigfoot
Version, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And in the Pacific Northwest is such a Bigfoot hotspot too.
It
Nowadays,
is, yes.
especially. I mean, with Small Town Monsters going to the Olympic project and like literally filming Bigfoot nests, like it's just insane. Like the facts, the proof we have nowadays, and anybody who says they can't exist to me is just like, I'm like, what are you thinking? There's so much proof otherwise. Like they have to exist to some degree, like whether it's a lot smaller population than we think, but that wouldn't account for all the sightings across the world. Like, I mean,
that's right. That's right.
It drives me insane. but we're here to talk about what you do, not about what quiet moose. Loud, massive. Scott, love it. And in case you haven't, I mean, I don't think we're friends on Facebook, so you might not have seen it, but my puppy Moose has a cone around his head right now because he just had surgery last week because he ate a stuffed pig. So
excellent. Yes, so he's got the cone of shame. The cone of shame on for that is always a bit traumatic for them, isn't it?
he's already chewed up one and broke it, and now he's on his second. I went to Tractor Supply and bought yesterday, and we literally had to duct tape it like a few minutes after we put it on him because he chewed all the clips off it. But
yes,
goddamn dog. Let's talk about pet tarot because I've had tarot readers on my show before, but I've never had any that do it specifically for pets. Like, how does that work? Like, do you need to actually be physical? Do you need to be Moose? Enough. Do you need to be physically with the pet, or do you need to like see a picture of it? Like, how's that work?
Yeah. So, pet tarot I developed about 5 years ago, and it was completely developed from the animal's perspective. So I really sat with the animals when I was, starting doing readings and working with this, and asking them, right, what does let's see, let me just pull a card here, just a random card. So let me take a step back. I use a deck called the Wild Unknown. My deck is currently, that I've created when I created Pet Tarot, is in development. But until it's done, I use a very specific deck called the Wild Unknown. And so here's a picture of the Father of Wands. So when I sat with the animals and said, right, what does this card represent? The first thing that we discussed was what the element of the card was. So the wand element is fire element. And fire element, from the animal's perspective, this is about their soul contract. This is why they've come into our lives. This is about their joy, their passions, what they're here to do. And it's got that fire element energy. Now the Father of Wands represents male energy. So if I were giving you a reading, I would be saying that your mastiff is acknowledging you, and your energy that is in the household. So that strong fatherly energy, and he sees that he has come into this world and has signed a contract with you around what's going on around that. So it's it's purely from their perspective, and it's their messages that they want to bring forward to be acknowledged and validated from us. If I were to draw a major arcana card, so we've got the Magician here. The animals wanted these messages to be specifically for the owner. So these are the owner life lessons that they would be wanting to, and I've just drawn these cards randomly, and I don't think it is a random coincidence. So if I were doing a reading for you, I would be saying that your dog Moose is seeing himself as being a part of your guide team, and that he's actually wanting to help guide you into these spiritual connections, because the Magician acts as our guide, and so he's wanting you to work more with your guides, be a stronger connection with your guides, and he's going to help guide you through this kind of the hero's journey, the fool's journey that we go on as far as our life lessons. And you have all the elements available to you, so using all of your senses, all of your skills, all of your talents, all of your gifts to be able to connect and give these messages around the world. So it's very unique, because the meanings of the cards and the information that comes through from the cards is actually from the animal themselves that I'm doing the reading for. So I don't have to be in present. I do a lot of Zoom calls around the world. I do need a picture and a name prior to doing a reading, to be able to sit and connect with the animal and do some animal communication, those kinds of things. However, I have done a lot of lives where people just put the animal's name and what type of animal they are. So I don't actually have to see a picture. I can just connect through that name and and knowing that they're a dog or a cat or a horse or a bird or a reptile, you name it, cow, sheep, all of them. So yeah.
Have you actually done readings for all those? Just out of curiosity, because I can't imagine someone being like, I want a reading for my cow. Like, it's just.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. A lot of animal sanctuaries who actually rescue farm animals, so cows and sheep and pigs and goats, and they want to know their stories, and the animals want to be able to give them their stories and acknowledge and validate what it is that they've gone through, what it means to be an animal, what it means to be a production animal. I believe that all animals are here to teach us, and to teach us what it means to be human, and what it means to have unconditional love, and the messages that they want to pass on. So I have done readings for farm animals. I've done readings for wildlife that are in rehabilitation, that aren't having you're not coping well, or there's things that are going on, to be able to connect with them and find out what's going on. I had a ring-tailed possum that the carers were having difficulty. It wasn't eating, it wasn't acting normal, and I did a reading, and it came forward that the possum was blind and didn't know that it was a possum, and it didn't know how to have possum behavior, because it had been taken as a young possum and had been hand reared. So, and because it was blind, it didn't understand what it meant to be a possum. And so we had to actually retrain it to be a possum. Obviously, it couldn't be re-released back into the wild, so it stayed as an education animal. But any animal, it works.
Well, actually, okay. Well, I wanted to show this to you just so you see it, but there we go. Those are the two puppies I have.
Oh yes.
That's Munchkin. Munchkin's the big one on the left, and Moose is the small one on the right.
Excellent. They're gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful.
They're gonna make some cute puppies. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I literally chose the name Munchkin because I know she's gonna be huge, and she already is. And that's people hear like her name's Munchkin. That's ironic as could be. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the point.
Exactly.
Like, it's ironic,
Exactly.
and like they're good dogs. They're good
Yeah.
dogs. They're loving as hell, and like they want nothing but attention.
That's
but
right.
Munchkin will chew on everything and then spit it out, and Moose will chew on everything and then eat it. That's the issue. But, right, Munchie? She was looking at me like, "You put a sheet over my cage. How dare you?"
Yeah.
But she's actually laying down behaving, so she's smart.
That's good.
That's for sure. Moose is the one you hear whining.
Yes.
And do I hear a bird?
Yes, it's a Major Mitchell cockatoo. He lives outside my window. So he's one of those beautiful white cockatoos that have the orange crest. So a big, large orange crest. So it's a native bird, so they will fly in wild flocks around Australia. So although they've just been listed as an endangered cockatoo, so not as many flying wild in the wild now. So much more in captivity, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's sad, but
It is.
it's
yeah.
for the best, literally.
Yeah.
I see you offer on your website though, like a therapeutic soul journey reading.
Yeah.
What does that entail?
Yeah. So a therapeutic soul journey reading is actually a tarot reading for people. I've now in the process of changing a couple of things. One of them is going to be actually a combined tarot reading called a pet partnership reading, and that's going to actually be a reading for their pet and themselves, because I'm a firm believer that a lot of things that animals are doing or expressing in their environment is actually them mirroring back to us what we actually need to address in ourselves. So again, this is about the animals here coming in as a contract that they signed up with us as humans to help us heal, to help teach us what we need to learn, and so. Yeah, so now that therapeutic soul journey reading is going to be in combination with a pet tarot reading, but it's a reading for the pet parents, so they can learn what it is that they're expressing that the animals are actually picking up and mirroring back in their behavior. So so if a dog's got anxiety, 9 times out of 10, if you start talking with the pet owner, they will have anxiety. And when you start getting to the root of the problem, why is this anxiety being present? Oftentimes when it gets fixed in us, it immediately gets fixed in the animal. So it's quite interesting how, we are so connected to our pets.
Interesting. Question for you, and feel free to say no, because we can talk about it beforehand, and I don't want to put you in the spot.
That's okay.
But would you be willing to do those? Willing to do one of those, especially since you've seen my dog, so you know what they're
like. Absolutely. I can definitely do a 1-card draw for you. So what I'd like you to do is actually pick one of the animals that you would like to have the reading for. So just tell me their name.
Let's go with Moose, because he's the most troublemaker right now. So let's go
Okay.
Moose.
Yep. Okay. So now we'll do a reading for Moose. We'll pull a card. Now, if you can just kind of set an intention, or if you've got a question that you'd like to know, or if you just want a general, see what he has to say, totally up to you. But just an intention for the reading.
What will it take for him to calm down and be a good dog? That's the
Okay,
question.
fantastic. Let's see what Moose has to say about what would help him settle. He's already a good dog, so we know he doesn't need to be, you know, but to help him settle and focus maybe on what's going on. All right, so what I'm just doing is I'm just tuning in with Moose, and I'm just giving my cards a shuffle. And in a moment, I'm going to I lay them all out. Face card down, obviously, so it's a card that I'm randomly picking with connection with Moose, and we will see what Moose has to say, because he's got a lot to say. So a little bit, some of the first things that are coming through when I'm connecting with Moose right now, he's got a lot of what I call nervous energy. And when dogs have a lot of nervous energy, it's because they are not knowing what it is exactly that they're supposed to be doing. So what their actual job is in the household. And so they get quite anxious and nervous when they are like, what am I here to do, and why am I here? So that's the first thing that's coming through is that he doesn't know what his job is in the house. So he needs to be given some form of a job, and the jobs can be simple. It doesn't, it can be that his job is to go out and get the paper every day, or his job is to be a working dog, so doing some agility work or doing some obedience work, like working dog work, those kinds of things. But the first thing is he's saying is I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here, so I'm just all over the place. Let's pull a card and see what he has to say.
Well, he's the one you can hear right now, so yeah.
Yeah. How long have you had him for? You haven't had him for very long, have you?
Got him right before Halloween last year.
Yeah, so a pretty short period.
And he just cost me $1,400 in a surgery. So yeah.
Yes. I think that's frustration. That he's quite frustrated, and so he's tearing things apart because he doesn't. I think he needs a job, is what he's saying. He needs a job. All right, Moose. Okay. So the first card that I've drawn, sorry, this is always back to front, and I'm trying to get it so it's got the light. So the first card that I've drawn is the Four of Pentacles. So the Pentacles is the earth element. The earth element, when it comes to, and like I've randomly drawn this card, and it's quite interesting that what we were talking about before, because the earth element is all about their self-worth and what it means for them to be in service to their people. So he sees his connection in the family all being interrelated. So we've got the Four Pentacles here, and they're all kind of interrelated and connected there. It is absolutely essential for him to have very clear intention in what it is that he is supposed to do and what it is that he's supposed to be doing in your family. So right now he is like a child with ADD who is not being helped mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, because we've got the four aspects here, to be able to focus and hone that energy into something quite distinct. So the earth element is about having a job, what they're here to be in service for us to do, to help us, and that can be look like anything. But his big message to you is that he needs to be told and shown what it is that his job is supposed to be in your family, in this family unit that you have. Um, so he needs to be, said, right, okay, this is what we're wanting from you. This is your job for this family. And then give him that job and do that job every single day. So, like I said, it could be as simple as, going out, getting the paper, or, helping you go out and do gardening. I keep getting this, and the second card that I drew was the Ace of Wands. So this is the pure fire energy. This is the pure energy of what the wands represents, and this is the soul contract that I was talking about earlier. And like I said, it wasn't a coincidence that I randomly drew the Father of Wands, which was acknowledging you and him, and what he has come here to do. And so I've now drawn the Ace of Wands, and he's saying, listen, I want to be a part of what it is that you do. So I don't know if you actually go out and do some exploration out in the nature or wilderness, looking for evidence of what your interest is. But he wants to be a part of that. He wants to actually become a part of what it is that you're doing. I'm very sorry for the construction noise, guys. And so it's like almost like he wants to go out and help show you where to go. And dogs have an amazing, sense of smell. They have amazing ability to track things down. And even being a mastiff, which we would not think as being a strong working dog, they still are a strong working dog, and they've got a lot to offer. So it's almost like he wants to go out and help you be part of what you do, and track down these things that you talk about. So it's quite interesting that he's really very drawn and connected. So there's no doubt that he's come into your life for a reason, and it would be interesting to do a full 7-card pet tarot reading, or a pet empowerment reading, because I think that the two of you together, there's a lot going on, and what he wants to do. But just
Moose, go sleep.
drawing a couple of quick cards, I think by giving him a job, it's going to focus his energy, it's going to settle him down, it's going to give him clarity, direction, stability in, right, this is my job, this is what I do. I don't have to be constantly trying to get your attention to do something, and so he can have his downtime where he relaxes. So if you were one of my clients, I would be recommending doing a pet partnership empowerment package, where we would sit and do a few readings and work through a few of these things to get really specific in what it is. But just as a brief off, I really think he wants to go out and do and help you do what you're doing. Like, he's really drawn to that. So it would be interesting if you could cultivate that energy, going towards focusing on investigating the paranormal.
Interesting. And it's funny. It got cold in here since you started doing that. That's the funny thing. And
Yeah.
there is 2 spirits in my house. So that's
Yeah.
the funny thing. But I get whenever I talk to mediums, psychics, anything in that line of work, I get a feeling in the middle of my head, and like something starts to vibrate almost.
Excellent.
And since you started doing those tarot readings, it started happening, and it's just like,
yes.
And Moose won't be quiet, but and you're munchkin right now. But that's kind of funny that that's what you Moose, really? It's kind of funny that's what you got out of it, because it's just
yeah.
See, I've taken him to Leominster State Forest in Massachusetts here.
Yes.
Which is a Bigfoot hotspot.
Yep.
I mean, he didn't lead me to. He never led me to anything. But I mean, Or at least
Yeah.
I don't think he did. I mean, my wife had him and I had Munchkin because Munchkin's 130
Yeah.
pounds. My wife can't
Yeah.
really control her like I can. But
It's almost like I get like I can see him going out with you, but it would have to be, like you connecting with him and asking him and really getting onto that level of going, right, okay, mate, what is it that you want me to know? Where should we go and look? And then being really, really quiet in your mind, quiet in your space to let him give you that level of communication. Like I call it going neutral, where you go neutral and let them communicate, and they communicate to you in the path of least resistance. So it might be, I hear them. I'm very strongly clairaudient, so I physically actually hear them speaking to me. But also people are, clairsentient, which is quite empathic, so they feel it in their body. So I would say that probably one of your superpowers is being clairsentient, because you're feeling it in your head. You feel that buzzing, that tingling. So all of a sudden you're getting activated and he's starting to open up that line of communication. A lot of people are claircognizant, where they just know things drop in. And then we've got clairvoyance, where we can actually see. And we've got all of those abilities in us. They're there. We just have to turn the dial up and turn the volume up and get quite tuned in with it. So I would find it interesting if you're going out with him and just having this conversation and all of a sudden seeing what it is that he has to say around tracking and going out there. It's just that that first time you didn't actually know that that's what he was out there to do, and he was with your wife. So I think you'd have to actually take him out on his own and really have that level of connection. But he wants to work with you. He wants to do work with you and around what it is that you do. And I think that by starting that training process of going out and going, right, mate, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go out for 20 minutes and we're going to walk and we're going to get focused on, tracking Bigfoot in the forest, and seeing what happens.
holy crap! If I actually discover Bigfoot because of this, I swear to God, I will pay you back. But you hear that, Moose? You're gonna help me find Bigfoot. But
yeah.
I could hope. If I was the one to make that discovery and actually make it known to the world, I would be the happiest man on earth.
Absolutely. He's going to definitely help you find signs. And it's going to be quite subtle signs in what it is, like very kind of subtle tracking. Like I'm almost seeing him showing me like the hair fibers, the on the branches or the ground or on trees, like he's showing me that. That's what I'm seeing from him. Like I'm seeing the hair fibers and the track, that kind of evidence with it. But he wants to work with you. He needs a job. That'll quiet him down very quickly.
Interesting. And I mean, I don't know if he's agreeing with you right now or not, but good. Yeah, interesting. I mean, knowing him, he probably would eat the hair fibers, but
well, you just have to have that conversation with him. It's like, okay, you need to show me, but you can't eat what it is that we find.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to try that some weekend. And, I mean, as hard as it can be to convince my wife that I want to go walk in the woods by myself, like, because I am not, as I'm pretty sure I told you earlier, I'm not a fan of hiking and camping by any freaking means.
Yeah, even if it's just going out for 20 minutes, and she can, come back a half hour later or something like that to pick you up. But yeah, I just think that there's work for the two of you to do, and it needs to be quite one-on-one, and that's what he's talking about.
Is that what you're saying, Moosey? Oh, funny. He's quiet now.
Yeah, oftentimes when animals start getting validated and acknowledged, their behavior all of a sudden will start to change, because it's like finally they're like, oh my God, someone's heard me, someone's validated, someone's acknowledged what I had to say. And when I have, when they say that, oftentimes I have, in the past when I've worked with people and done readings, the behavior that they are concerned about immediately stops once it gets acknowledged and validated. So he's a young dog, so he's got a lot of other energy, in him, just young dog energy, which also the Ace of Wands represents that really young, intense, high energy in him. Like, this is a perfect card for how he represents and how he sees himself. So he does have this fire like intensity about him that wants to be focused and harnessed. And so if left not focused and harnessed, it's going to start to present itself as negative behavior. So I think you're kind of at the precipice right now of being able to harness that energy and focus it for good, and helping with your work, rather than him just going, right, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to be destructive, and I'm going to be aggressive, and I'm going to be all of these negative types of behaviors. So his intensity is bright. His intensity is, there's a lot of fire in his belly. So he needs that focus, or it's going to come and it's not going to end well. He'll start showing negative behaviors with it.
He already does that, but
Time to focus him. Gotta focus.
All right, maybe I'll have to start taking him for walks in the woods and stuff and see what he
Yep.
finds. But
yes, he will love that. That's his job. That's what he wants to do with you.
Well, as an animal communicator, what are some, like, because I've talked to people I've talked every animal communicator I talk to, they do dogs, they do horses, they do cats. But what are some of the strangest animals you ever worked with?
So my bearded dragon, I had a bearded dragon, and it was really quite interesting. I was this little bearded dragon got handed into me, and was relinquished when I was working at the university, and it was a very sick dragon, and I was talking with the radiologist, and we were doing x-rays, regular routine x-rays of him. And I was saying to them that, he has come here, that his job is to teach people about metabolic bone disease and to be an advocate. And he wanted his story to be told to help people learn how to take better care of these bearded dragons, because they're very unique in their husbandry and those kinds of things. And so I was telling his story and sharing with him, with this radiologist, what it was that he wanted to do. And I was holding him, and the radiologist turned to me and he goes, I have sat there and watched that little dragon in your hands. And he said, he can hear you. And he's listening to you. He's like watching you. He's like, I've never seen anything quite like that. And I said, well, yes, that's because I've given him a voice, and I'm telling his story, and I'm teaching people how to better take care of them. He's a little 45-gram dragon, and basically here to teach. And I've taught his story. He's now since passed, but he continues to teach people how to take better care of their dragons. Another one was a black-headed python, which is a very large snake, who was quite unwell. And I did a communication reading with her, in helping her heal. She had a non-healing wound. A vet had inappropriately cut through her belly scales, and they were not healing. She was unable to defecate because of it. So I asked her if she wanted to go to surgery and have it fixed, and she said yes. And it was a big surgery, and whether or not, we didn't know if she was even going to make it through. And she did, and I had taken her home for her rehabilitation. And I did a reading with her afterwards, and within about 24 hours, she was actually pooing normally, which she had not done for over 12 months, and had actually eaten, which she hadn't done for over 12 months. And it was just having this conversation with her about her healing and what it was that she wanted done through her healing. And so I was able to set up her Viv in such a way, with some, certain, things that she wanted in her Viv and how she wanted it, to help her heal. And it was like, I was able to take the snake back to the owner within 2 days, and was like, she's pooing normally, she's eating. This is pretty incredible for a snake that was so sick that it couldn't do either of those for over 12 months.
Wow. Which, as I told my last guest in this podcast tonight, I grew up with a debilitating fear of snakes, passed down from my grandmother, my mother, my aunts. Like, it was just a fear of snakes, like, to no end, a fear of snakes. And
Yeah.
like seeing one on TV, seeing a picture of one on a book cover or in a book, like, used to give me chills down my spine, used to like make all my hairs go on end. And I got over it now somewhat. Like, I could see them on TV now and it doesn't bother me. I've pet one before. I never held one around my shoulders or anything because that's a step.
Right.
That's a step I would do now, but like I haven't done it yet. Maybe someday. But so I mean, the fact that someone could, and you are the third or fourth person I talk to that work with snakes, and like it's just like I tell this every time. It's just like to be able to work with snakes like that would terrify me to no end, like no end, like to be. I mean, I actually used the word parcel tongue in one of my episode, the first episode I did where a person communicated with a snake, because like that's all I could think of. It's like a parcel tongue from Harry Potter lore.
Yeah.
And it's just I can't imagine it. Like my son would love to have a snake as a pet, but I was like, I don't want that in my house, because if it gets loose, I can't promise I am not going to kill it in the process. Like if it gets loose. Because
they're great pets, though. They're great first pets, actually, for kids, because they're very easy and straightforward to take care of. So
I could see that maybe, but like I just don't know. Like,
it's understandable.
I mean, the fear's still there because it's just when I lived in a trailer in New York, like I watched a snake all the time, that like a garter snake that was like, it lived in a little like rock formation outside the front porch of the trailer, and like eventually the rock formation, like that whole summer, like I would watch the snake like in its rocks, or I'd watch the snake like come out. It popped out of the dirt one time and nearly gave me a heart attack because it was like a scene from Tremors, the way it came out of the dirt. But it's I don't know. One of my houses.
Interesting. It's interesting that for someone who has that kind of concern and worry and fear of them, that the snake obviously had something to tell you, something for you to learn from their medicine, from their energy. For you to spend that much time watching them and seeing what he was doing and interacting with his environment during that time. So if you sit and reflect back with that, there will be some lessons that he taught you, whether it be this kind of level of patience and time for transformation, or it might have been during a time where you were undergoing a lot of transformation, because it's about shedding of your skin, shedding of the old, the new coming through. So there would have been information and lessons that he was teaching you, even though you might not have known it.
It's funny that you use that analogy of shedding of the skin, because like, I mean, at that time, I can't think of anything necessarily that would have signified that. But I'm actually as of a week from Friday, I'm working with a previous guest of my podcast from a week or two ago, who named Jassy Jackson, she helps people find their true meaning in life. That's one of the main things she does. But and I'm actually gonna I worked out. Normally, it costs like $1,400 to do her service for this. But I worked out a deal with her where I advertise for her. I advertise for her my podcast, and she will do it for free. So
fantastic.
I know it's a lot of people are not willing to do that, and like the fact that she was willing to do that, like we got along so well that she was just willing to do it. But
Beautiful.
so I feel like I'm gonna be shedding my skin soon in a.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
I feel like it's coming. Like I feel like I feel like it's gonna work because like I feel like my true scent.
Yes.
I don't know. My father was famous for saying like, my father died in 2017 at 58.
I'm very sorry.
Thank you. Heart surgery he didn't recover from. I mean, he had cancer when he was a teenager, and his heart sac was destroyed from the radiation, so he couldn't recover. He couldn't recover from his last heart surgery. But he was famous for saying to me, my brother, blah 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 years old, because he would say it all his life. Like since we were born, like I'm blah 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 years old, and I don't know what the fuck I want to do with my life. Like that was his famous saying, and like he worked in the car industry most of his life, sales, repairs, rentals, all that. Like he worked in every aspect of the car industry all his life. And I mean, and he drove a limo. That was his life, and he worked at the DOT, like as a truck weigh station. So he literally worked with automobiles all his life, and he was famous for saying, like, when we were trying to figure out what we want to do with our lives, like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I'm this many years old. So,
well, it's very interesting, moving on this conversation, because the first card that I drew was the Father of Wands and the snake. And we've got the God strike, which is the intuition and the knowing, and the fire. This is passion, the passion to purpose. So this was the very first card that I drew for you when we were chatting, just talking about it. So again, big transformation going on. So acknowledgement. So you're going to be getting some intuition coming through, and Moose was acknowledging you as far as this. So it will be quite interesting to see what happens for you when you have, your reading. I believe that you're going to have some very strong intuitive hits. This could be from your father. He might be coming through, helping you from the other side to figure out, your life purpose. But we've got the snake energy coming through again, so the snake energy is actually talking to you. There's healing from that energy. So even though, you've got anxiety and fear around it, they're here to teach you something. And I just don't think that is coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence that I drew this card first up. I don't think it's coincidence that you're talking about the snake that you watched, in the rock formation. And, I don't think it's coincidence that I'm talking about, transformation, shedding of the skin, letting go of the old, what no longer serves you, stepping into a new place in your life. That's all fire energy, wands energy, snake energy.
It's funny because literally, like, most of this episode, I've had the coldest chill through my body, and like I'm a huge believer in synchronicity and fate, and like I don't know if I said that already, but I might have. But I mean, it's just I feel like something so big is on the precipice of my life, and I mean, I just started a new job in sales, and I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm meant to do, because I set a record at this company for having a sale in the first week on the phones. So,
fantastic, good on you.
I mean, it was. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be greedy, but it was pure. Part of it was pure luck, because I called this client and they need phones, so I sold it to them. But like, it was part of it was pure luck, but part of it was also I connected with this client to some degree.
That's right.
And I know that, and I mean, I'm in the paranormal. No, when things happen, they happen for a reason, and
that is right.
It's just, oh my god! Like I can't lie. Like the whole top half of my body is freezing right now. It's chilly outside, and the door's open down here, but it's not that cold where I should be like freezing to like.
No, that's right.
Shivering almost like.
So spirit's definitely talking to you. There's messages there that's coming through. Spirit's definitely speaking. And like I said, it's not by, I don't believe, I believe in synchronicities and those kinds of things. So I don't think it's by coincidence that I randomly, out of 78 cards, the first card I picked was the, Father of Wands, and then the Magician, and then we've got the Ace of Wands. And so, so much information that's, and obviously the Magician also, he is about synchronicities and speaking to us through synchronicities. And that's how, our guides speak to us. And again, I think it will be how Moose will probably speak with you also. He will be showing you these synchronicities. We just have to make sure that we are open to receive those messages. So he will be giving you those types of information and synchronicities also.
Maybe. I mean, technically, he's my wife's dog because she bought the original dog that died at 18 weeks old from Moose, from misshapen kidneys, and like Moose was a replacement dog, kind of. He was a replacement puppy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
I find that
interesting.
interesting. It happens a lot in households where owners, go, oh, well, this one is my dog. But there's contracts between the both of you. And obviously I'm having a reading with you and him. And this is the contract between the two of you, and him helping you with your work. So it would be interesting, to do a reading, with your wife and him to see what he's come in to do with her, because obviously he will have purpose and things to do with her also. It's just that, I'm reading with you and him. So.
Whoa. Okay, I am getting such a feeling right now that it's almost overwhelming, like from all this. Like it's wow. But why don't you? Well, because we have hit the hour mark here, past it. But this conversation has been so great, I didn't want to end it. But
yeah,
why don't you tell my listeners where they can find you, where they can find your services, promote yourself to the fullest, basically.
Okay, thank you. So you can, we've just lost power. So this is, here's Spirit talking to us again. So I've just lost my light. So you can, my website is www.animalconnection, all one word, .net. You can find me on Facebook at Animal Connection with Dr. Lisa. And I can send through to Jeremy my link in bio, where if you to sign up to get a reading done. Obviously, you can always message me through Facebook or through my website. I've got a couple of freebies going on my website that you can sign up for, which is a 3-video training as an introduction, a beginner's guide to pet tarot. And that helps you. It's a little boot camp that I did. You get a workbook, you get the video trainings directly into your inbox. So you get that for free. You just have to put in your email address to go onto the mailing list with that. Yeah, I'm always happy to help people out. I've got a great private group that we do lots of readings and stuff in, and do lots of trainings. And so, that's the best way to get a hold of me.
And all my listeners know where you can find me. Listen to the outro to hear more. But if you don't know where you can find me, but I want to thank Lisa for coming on today, Dr. Lisa, because it's been an amazing episode, and I can't wait for my listeners to hear this in June-ish when it releases. But
fantastic!
I can't wait for my listeners to hear. Like, I'm gonna have a week of because I do twice a week episodes, so I'm gonna have a week of animal communication episodes, and that's just incredible to me because it's one of my favorite topics in the paranormal world is animal communication. So
that's beautiful. Well, I'm more than happy to come on again and have a chat anytime. I can talk about this topic of my experiences all day long, and an hour is a very short period of time.
It is, and I definitely would be willing to have you on. Yes, Moose, we're talking about you. We know this, and I definitely would be willing to have you on again. 100%.
Beautiful.
And I want to thank all my listeners for listening. Thank all my watchers for watching. And to my watchers, I'll be back tomorrow with another show. to all my listeners, I'll see you in half a week. Have a good one, and remember, things happen for a reason. We just
Yes.
just proved that to some degree. So
Yes.
thank you, and I will see you all in half a week.